Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be looking at AQA English Language Paper 1. As you all know, Paper 1 is all about explorations in creative writing and reading. You'll be given an example of a fiction text in section A and doing some creative writing in section B. You'll have an hour and 45 minutes to complete the paper. There are 80 marks at stake, and this obviously contributes to 50% of your Gcse English language grade. So let's get into the questions. So before we get into the questions, here is an example of a typical extract that may be given to you. Please remember to read the extract carefully. It's really important to take some time at the beginning to carefully read the extract in full. I recommend spending at least 15 minutes. Okay, it's really important. So let's get into the questions. Okay, so for question 1, I recommend spending 5 minutes. Question 1 should hopefully be quite straightforward for you. You'll be asked to find 4 specific bits of information from a specific part of the text. As you can see on the example on my screen, it says, read again the first part of the source from lines 1 to 5. List 4 things about the bird in Alex's Nightmare from this part of the source. Okay, so it's likely there will be more than 4 pieces of information available, so you'll have plenty to choose from. You can either put your answers in your own words or you can quote directly from the text. I always recommend quoting directly from the text because it's quicker, because I know a lot of students like to paraphrase. Sometimes you may paraphrase incorrectly. Okay, so just quote from the text. It's quicker and it's easier. So key things to remember before I move on to question 2 is to read the question carefully, to only refer to the specific section of the text in the question, and to not spend too long on these questions. Because at the end of the day, it's only 4 marks, okay? So just get your 4 points down, get the 4 marks in the bag, and move on, okay? Let's move on to question 2. Now, for question 2 is on language analysis. I recommend spending 10 minutes. Question 2 is worth 8 marks and is all about language analysis. There's quite a lot to do in a short space of time. You just need to learn how to manage your time effectively. You'll be asked to analyze how the writer has used language to achieve something. So, for example, on my screen, you can see the question is, how does the writer use language here to describe the effects of the storm? Okay, what does this mean? It means that you need to analyze how the writer has used language to achieve something. You'll need to consider any use of interesting word classes such as verbs, adverbs, adjective, nouns, connectives, any use of language devices such as similes, metaphor, euphemism, personification, or onomatopoeia, and any use of sentence forms such as simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences. If you know you do not know how to analyze these types of sentences, just focus on short sentences, long sentences, use of punctuations such as hyphens, exclamation marks, commas, in this case, listing. Yeah, these are all structural techniques. Please, for this question, make sure you use well-selected quotations that you know you can analyze. Explain how these quotes show your points. So each time you make a point, you provide a good quotation, you identify the language technique, and then you explain how the technique creates the effect set out in the question. Let's move on to question 3. Now, question 3 is on structural analysis. Just as question 2, I recommend spending 10 minutes here. And instead of language features, language techniques, you are looking for structural techniques, okay, and how these techniques have been used to achieve a specific effect. Your analysis of structure here should focus on shifts in focus or continuity in focus across the whole text. So you're looking, for example, at what the writer focuses on at the beginning, how and why the writer changes the focus as the source develop, and then how the writer ends the source. Okay, again, please use quotations directly from the text to demonstrate your structure point. Okay, and then you explain it. Let's move on to question 4. Now, for question 4, you'll be asked to evaluate a text critically, okay? So it's an evaluation question. I recommend spending 20 minutes here. Obviously, this is the big one in section A because it's a 20-mark question. Here you need to evaluate how successfully language and structural points build a particular effect. You'll be given a statement from a student about the extract and asked about the extent to which you agree with it. So for example, like the one you see on my screen, it says, a student said, this part of the story set during breakfast time shows that Alex is struggling to cope with his mother's illness. To what extent do you agree? Okay. Key points to remember are identify language and structural features, use quotations from the text to demonstrate these features, analyze how the quotation proves your point, evaluate how successfully this achieves the effect from the question, focus on the specifics of the question, provide your own clear opinion of how far you agree with the statement in question. Okay, moving on to question 5, which is the last question on the AQA English Language Paper 1. Question 5 is imaginative writing, also known as creative writing. I recommend spending 45 minutes here. It's an extended creative writing task. You will get a choice of 2 questions. As you can see on my screen, the first question says, write a description of a stormy sea as suggested by this picture, or write a story that begins with the sentence, this was going to be a terrible day. Now, I recommend doing the descriptive writing because it's easier, okay? Unless you have a profound understanding of how narrative structure operates, okay? Writing stories is very difficult, okay? In question 5, there are 40 marks at stake. As you can see on my screen, 24 marks are for content and organization. So that is how effectively you write using a range of language and structural techniques. 60 marks are for SPACs, that's spelling, punctuation, and grammar. So please make sure you use a range of vocabulary, ambitious vocabulary for that matter, and sentence structures with accurate spelling and punctuation. For your descriptive writing, you could use an experience as an inspiration or completely make everything up. Please make sure your writing is appropriate to the specific purpose and audience set out in the question. For your descriptive writing, I recommend spending 5 minutes planning your answer. You just need to write a simple bullet point list, planning each of your paragraphs, because this will really help make the most of your writing time. Okay, we have now reached the end of this video. I hope it was helpful. As always, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.